Radio Sport Ireland. If you're okay now, can we start the interview?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. I'm now joined on the line by Maurice Greene. Maurice Greene is a former American and track elite sprinter who in his time won Olympic gold medal for the USA and was a 5-time world champion and set the world record which was 9.79 seconds, which he set in 1999, which lasted until 2005, until Asafa Powell broke it, and it was one of the biggest breakdowns of the world records since Donovan Bailey's time. He shed more than 5/10 off it. Maurice, just looking back on your track career back in the 2000s, late 1999s, when you were at your elite at the Olympics and World Championships, coming to that period, there was great competition and the rivalry was so close between yourself and Atto Bolton and Obadeli Thompson. Maybe going on to this current day where we saw in the Olympics there Usain Bolt at his utmost was just too strong for Justin Gatlin. Would you feel that maybe the competition in your day the standard was higher than what it is today, or is just Usain Bolt just on a different level to the athletes that were there in Rio?
Well, I think in my time, I think we did have a lot more competition because even though I was as dominant as I was, there wasn't a 100% guarantee that I was always going to win. There was always going to be someone there to really challenge me and, put up a fight. But Usain is just a unique individual where his talent and, the way he competes and just overtakes everyone else, and everybody just decides to take a back seat to him. That's what I really think it is. Usain is a phenomenal athlete. I think you need tougher athletes to just come up and step up and really try to challenge him. Not because of what he's done. You can't look at an athlete for what he's done. You have to look at an athlete and just compete on that day and not worry about, what they've done or anything else. Because, when you get into a 100-meter final, everybody that lines up has about the same amount of ability. It's just that, who's going to have the better race pattern and the race plan on that day to see who wins. And I think in Usain's era, he's just been more dominant and, he worries about his race pattern and his race plan, and that's why he wins so much.
And Maurice, if we look there, maybe there was talk coming into this Olympics. I know for yourself, you had injuries yourself in your own career, hamstring injuries, and there was much talk that maybe the Bolt was going into this Olympics. Maybe he was overcoming an injury and it would affect him and it would maybe narrow the field. And you must know preparation for Olympics and preparation for World Championships. If you're coming off a real nasty injury like a hamstring injury and stuff like that, it's bound to affect you. But it just seemed on the Olympics itself, it felt that Bolt wasn't carrying any sort of injury and that he was fully healed, and maybe that the thought maybe coming into it that the injury might close up the gap, but in fairness to Bolt, he looked in perfect health.
Well, one thing you have to know is when you get injured and you're getting ready for a humongous competition, your focus is a lot stronger because you have to overcome certain things, and you battle back to get back healthy. But while you're coming back, when you're training and everything, your focus is a lot more intense on yourself because you're trying to come back from something, and that makes you focus in on your training just a little bit more. And I think that actually makes you just a little bit more dangerous because it's not like you've been healthy all year and you continue to do the same thing and you're like, okay, if I just do this, everything is going to be fine. You get a little injury, you're like, wait a minute, I need to focus in a little bit more to make sure that my injury doesn't bother me when this time comes and that I'll be 100% to go out there and perform the way I did.
Yeah, and Maurice, we look at your own career where you successfully defended world championships and you successfully took complete medal hauls there in successive Olympics. And just wondering about that for an elite level athlete, how the motivation? Do you know you've won one world championship, you've won world two championship. Is there still that drive and hunger just to win every race? Is that what is in a top athlete? Just when you feel that you've achieved your ultimate goal, like you achieved the Olympic gold medal, you achieved world championship, yet you came back and you wanted to win another world championship, you wanted to win another Olympic medal, you just wanted to stay at the top. Is that what sets the top athletes apart when they achieve success? They just want to drive on?
I think it's self motivation. I think it's things that you feel like you have to accomplish that you feel like you haven't accomplished, that you still want to. If you figure that you still can get better, you work towards your own personal goals. Those are the things that drive you once you've won, once you've had the world record and you get the Olympic medal and the world championship gold medal. You look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, how much more do I have? Or, what are my goals for myself? Because, when you step on the line, you put a lot more pressure on yourself than people put on you wanting you to win. You have a mystique about you that you just want to go out there and perform well. And, you start going against history now. After you've done a couple of things now, you're like, how great can I actually be? I want to accomplish this goal and I want to accomplish that goal for myself. And that's what drives you to go out and work hard and, to keep pursuing on.
Yeah, until
you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, I've done everything that I possibly could do. It's like, okay, what more do I have to go? And it's like, why keep going?
Yeah, and Maurice, we now know that Usain Bolt is departing the scene in relation to the 100 metres and 200 metres in the next Olympic. Do you think the field will level off now, or do you think there's a contender that will step up to the mark like Andrew Legrasse, who will begin his era of dominance? Or do you think you could see a period in the 100 and 200 metres where titles will flip-flop between the top 4 or 5, that it won't be one man won't be so dominant in that event?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be just one man that's so dominant. Although DeGrasse is a very talented young man, I think he will have a lot of competition coming up. You have Tremont Vermeil, who was actually hurt in this year's Olympics. His injury just overtook him. He wasn't able to, put up the times that he's capable of. So it depends on how he comes back from his injury, from his surgery, and how he progresses with that. I think he'll be a contender. I think we have a couple of young other guys who's going to show their faces now that, the field is going to be wide open.
Yeah, and many people say that Justin Gatlin, now that he knows Bolt might be departing, might actually stay on, that he mightn't. I know Gatlin's 34, he mightn't retire. What do you think the future holds for Justin Gatlin now? Do you think there's another Olympics in Justin, or do you think he will depart the era where Bolt will depart, or do you think he wants to stay on and maybe go for that gold with Bolt out of the picture now?
It's possible, but I don't think he will be there at the next Olympics. That's just, he'll be, 34 now. He'll be 38, 39. At that time, I don't think it will happen. Yeah. But only time will tell. Who knows?
Yeah, and if we can move on now to the 400 metres, Maurice Greene, and a record that most people watching were in disbelief that thought would never go, Michael Johnson's 20-year record in the 400 metres, and it was broken by some distance by Wade van Niekerk, who many people thought he was a contender going into the race, but many people had LeSean Merritt, Karani James maybe down as the 1-2, and Van Meeker maybe to spoil the party, but Van Meeker just took off from the outside lane for a bullet, and we were just like, is he going to slow? Are the field going to catch up to him? And the gap was kept widening and widening and widening. And watching the race, Maurice, what did you make of it?
I think he is a tremendous talent. I thought he could win. I didn't think anyone in that race was going to break the world record. That's just what I thought. But the way Van Meeker runs, I thought he is capable of winning, even though he was in lane 8. I didn't think lane 8 would bother him because of the way he runs. You know, he runs one way, and he's going to run hard, and it doesn't matter whether he's in front or in back or anything else. He's just going to run one way. And I think him being in lane 8 really just focusing on himself really allowed him to do that. And when he came through the 300 and then he just kept on going, that was a tremendous race.
Yeah, and maybe it just shows that we overestimated the powers of LaShawn Merritt and Karani James, or do you think it was that Van Meeker was holding something back during the early rounds?
I'm sure he was holding something back through the early round, because you want to try to reserve as much energy as possible, and then let it all loose in the final. So I'm sure he was holding back, and that's how he ended up in lane 8. But I'm sure he didn't worry about him being in lane 8, either. So he ran a phenomenal race.
Yeah.
I don't think all the pressure was just on Karani and LaShawn. I think he had a lot of pressure on himself, but he knew what he was capable of doing.
Yeah, and Maurice, if we look, many people talk about the short distance runners, the 100 and 200 and 400 metres, and specialists, and what do they make of the likes of David Rudisha and the likes of Mo Farah as athletes, and the long distance sprinters? And Mo Farah has been so dominant, and so has David Rudisha been so dominant in their events for maybe the best part of a decade now. And what do you think of the legacy of David Rudisha and Mo Farah? Do you think we're going to see likes of him again?
Oh, you know what? I mean, this is an era of athletes that come, very, very often. Is what you're seeing between, like, you see David Rudisha and you see Mo Farah and you see Usain. Athletes like this don't come around very often, and we're just in a time to where we have 3 great athletes at one time that's all coming together. I think it'll be some time before we see somebody that dominant like those guys are. But I mean, eventually it'll be someone to come around and do the things that they do.
Yeah, and
but I think it'll be a time. It's going to be a while before that happens.
Yeah, and Maurice, what did you make of the women's track and field events? We saw Elaine Thompson and Shelly-Ann Fraser and Alison Felix maybe outgunned and outshone as one of the favourites to take gold. And what do you think, was there surprises there that you didn't expect to see?
No, it wasn't a surprise. I thought, I knew it was going to be hard for Alison Felix because, everyone knows she was dealing with some injury problems earlier in the year. And I think what she did was fantastic. To almost think that her ankle is broke and to come back and to perform the way that she did was just great. But, you have the young athletes coming up like Elaine Thompson, who's, coming on very strong, and to double the way she did and to hold off Daphne Skippers. She's a tremendous athlete.
Yeah. And Maurice, you mightn't have known it, but in the 400 metre, in the 110 metre, 400 metre hurdle finals, we had an Irish person for the first time in 108 years. Thomas Barr, he came in 4th, and his time, if it was in the previous Olympics, the past 4, he would have won a silver medal, and it was the American Karan Merritt that won the hurdles. And did you see that race?
Yeah, I saw the race. One of the hardest races on the track is the 110 hurdle. That is a very competitive race. At any time, you never know who's going to come out to be the victor, especially at this year's Olympics. You didn't know what was going to happen. And makes it so exciting. I think he has a tremendous, he's going to have a tremendous career ahead of him. I think as long as he keeps progressing, he's going to turn a lot of heads. Everyone knows that he can run now, so it's not going to just be as easy for him now. Now everybody's going to be looking for him.
Okay. Maurice, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we wish you all the best in the future.
All right, thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Maurice.